Pittsburgh Steelers rookie quarterback Will Howard is absolutely awesome.
I really like the kid Will Howard from Ohio State. I just think he's a winner.
He's a monster. He's 6'4", 235.
What I saw out of him is an accurate quarterback that makes good decisions, is sturdy in the pocket, has good footwork, throws from a strong base, and wins on third down and in the red zone. And I think there's a place in the NFL for guys like that.
Why Will Howard?
I may not be the most talented guy in the world all the time, but I'm going to outwork everybody. Every single team that picks a quarterback in front of me, I'm going to make it my mission to make sure that they regret not picking me.
Will Howard is the newest quarterback drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his story is interesting because he's not the most physically gifted quarterback that we've ever seen. We all know that, but most importantly, Will knows that, and he's made it this far in spite of that. Over the course of today's video, you're going to learn the many obstacles Will has been able to overcome, getting him to where he is today. His story's amazing. I genuinely love this kid. I cannot wait to tell you the story of Will Howard. Will Howard was born on September 24, 2001 in Westchester, Pennsylvania to Bob and Maureen Howard. Now, you may not know this, but in his rookie year of life, Will Howard was already making an impact on the rest of the world. You see, Will was a pretty huge baby. He's huge today. He's 6'4", but he was still a big baby back then. He was a pretty huge baby who quickly outgrew the swaddles that his parents used on him, which led to him being a bad sleeper in his first several months of life. This led to his mother Maureen, who was a NICU pediatric physical therapist, to create the Baby Merlin Magic Sleep Suit and founded the Baby Merlin Company. So you could say that Will Howard's sleeping troubles have helped hundreds of thousands of babies transition from swaddling to a more independent sleep environment. While his mom was focused on helping babies sleep better, Will's dreams were already wide awake. Will's love for sports came at a rather young age. He says he had it written down somewhere that his dream someday is to become a professional athlete. Will grew up with very supportive parents who believed they had a little athlete on their hands, and they did everything they could to foster this passion of his. Will started his football career at Downingtown Middle School with the Marsh Creek Eagles, and this is where he really began to see his work ethic show out. In an article for Steelers.com, he shared with Teresa Varley that when he was in middle school, he'd be working out in the dark in front of his house. Will continued to develop his skills at Downingtown West High School, where he was a multi-sport athlete. Will was a star basketball player in high school, playing center and power forward. He was a two-time All-Area selection in the sport and scored over 1,000 points in his high school basketball career, while also helping his team reach the state tournament in 2017. While he was a standout basketball player, his heart was on the football field. Will was on varsity all 4 years of high school, but he didn't really have notable playing time until he was a sophomore. His first season as a starter left room for improvement, throwing only 9 touchdowns, rushing for a 10th touchdown, and giving away the ball 5 times. He showed some improvement in his junior year, throwing for 12 touchdowns, rushing for 3 more touchdowns, and only throwing 2 picks. He did fumble the ball to the other team 4 times, but nonetheless, it was a stronger season from the junior quarterback. Over 2 years of strong quarterback play, the offers began rolling in for Will Howard. Unfortunately, his best football season of his life was cut short after breaking his arm in a Week 7 game of his junior year. After that, the offers stopped coming. One reason this was particularly frustrating for Will was the fact that it led to him never receiving an offer from Penn State.
Halfway through the year, I broke my arm. After that, I never heard from Penn State again. I went up and visited him. And
was that your dream? Was Penn State your school? Okay.
Always wanted to go to Penn State. Same deal as him. My dad went there. My sister goes there now. I always wanted to go to Penn State. I was blue and white, till I die.
Growing up in Eastern Pennsylvania, Will grew up a diehard Nittany Lion fan. That was his dream school. Will ended up being rejected from Penn State, and that left a chip on his shoulder that would stay for him for almost a decade. We're going to come back to that chip on his shoulder later in the video. His senior year was very obviously his breakout year. Before his senior year of high school started, he committed to play football for Kansas State. 2019 was Will's strongest statistical season to that point, throwing for 2,543 yards, 27 touchdowns, and another 12 rushing touchdowns with only 9 turnovers. If you're doing the math, that's 39 touchdowns, 9 turnovers. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He was named the Maxwell Football Club Pennsylvania Player of the Year and the All-Southeastern Pennsylvania Player of the Year by the Philadelphia Inquirer. He also earned All-State honors from the Pennsylvania Football Writers. When all was said and done, Will would have put together a 5,308-yard, 48 touchdown, and 15 interception career. Despite the solid statistics, Will continued to be a middle-of-the-road recruit, only being rated a 3-star athlete. But what I love about Will is that he doesn't care about that. He only cares about working hard, setting a good example, and becoming a better quarterback. Will started out his freshman year as the backup to his current Steelers teammate Skylar Thompson. His time as the backup, however, didn't last very long, as he took over for the final 7 games of his freshman year in 2020 after Skylar Thompson went down due to a serious upper body injury. Now, Will struggled his freshman year. He only threw for 1,178 yards and 8 touchdowns, rushing for 3 touchdowns, but he ended up throwing 10 interceptions. Following that, in his sophomore year, Will returned to a backup role behind Skylar Thompson in 2021, and he started a few games, but it was clear Kansas State didn't really want him throwing the ball, only throwing more than 13 times once in week 2. Now, going into his junior year, Will was in a pretty weird spot. Kansas State clearly didn't believe in Will Howard, evidenced by them signing transfer senior Adrian Martinez, sending Will back to his spot on the bench, with the plan for him to redshirt that year and preserve his eligibility. In a Week 7 game against TCU, however, Adrian Martinez went down to injury, making room for Will Howard to step back into the role. He threw 2 touchdowns and 1 pick in that game, but it wasn't enough to come out on top. With that said, Kansas State decided to continue playing Will, and he continued to play well in place of Adrian Martinez. And outside of a meaningless bowl game loss, the Sugar Bowl, Will started and won each of the next 5 games, including getting his revenge in a Big 12 championship victory over TCU, the team that beat him when he stepped back into the starting role. He finished his junior year throwing for 15 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, a massive improvement from where he was as a freshman. In his true senior season, Will was finally given the nod to be Kansas State's full-time starter. He played in all 12 regular season games, throwing a record-tying 24 touchdowns and 10 picks, being named to All Big 12 second team for his performance that year. With that being said, something weird happened during a Week 6 game versus Texas Tech. Enter Avery Johnson. The original plan was for Will Howard to play most of that game, but to take advantage of Texas Tech's defensive game plan, freshman quarterback Avery Johnson was left in the game to utilize his elite rushing ability, as he ran for 94 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns in that game. And that decision would foreshadow Kansas State's plan for Will Howard in the following season. K-State ended up committing to the quarterback that they were paying NIL money, which was Avery Johnson, as their 2023 starter, essentially benching Will Howard should he choose to stay at the college. Now, because of the pandemic in 2020, Will was granted 1 more year of eligibility to play college football. Now, if you've learned anything about Will in this video, you should know that Will is a competitor who can play and wants to win, and he can't do any of that sitting behind a sophomore quarterback getting paid NIL money. Will Howard had 2 goals, and this is his words.
The 2 things that I was telling every team when I was in the portal was, I want to compete for a national championship and I want to elevate my draft stock and develop as a quarterback. And I just felt like those 2 things, there was no better place than Ohio State for me, in terms of having Ryan Day as my head coach.
Now remember, to this point, Ryan Day and Ohio State had a reputation, and that reputation was Ryan Day's a great coach, but he can't win the big game. So Will had some lofty expectations to live up to. Will Howard was named Ohio State's starting quarterback, and it's been his best college football season to date. One of those wins even came against Penn State, a game Will Howard had marked down on his calendar, and he viewed it as a revenge game. And revenge he got against the team that rejected him in the recruitment process. He threw for 4,010 yards and 35 touchdowns to 10 interceptions while rushing for another 7 touchdowns. Now, the stats are great. He had a breakout season, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care about any of that. I don't care about the stats. I don't care. Because Will Howard's 1 year at Ohio State had a few moments that really tested him more than he's ever been tested before. Moment number 1, he's playing number 3 Oregon, and he has an opportunity to lead Ohio State to a game-winning field goal. After completing a couple crucial passes and after a couple penalties in both directions, Howard was at a point where he only needed to gain about 10 to 15 yards to put his team into field goal range. He takes the snap, ended up rushing the ball into go-ahead field goal range, but the problem is he took too long to slide and call Ohio State's final timeout. Time expired with Ohio State in field goal range. Oregon wins the game. And you could see in that moment, Will knew he effed up. That there is a mistake that can make or break a player. And Will did not let that moment break him. He learned from that moment, and he became a better leader and a better football player because of that moment. Moment number 2, the loss to Michigan. The Buckeyes' only other loss that year was in the final regular season game in one of the nation's greatest rivalries against Michigan. Now, Will tell you this himself, that was his worst game that he had for Ohio State, only throwing 1 touchdown, throwing 2 interceptions. Against your rivals on national television heading into the college football playoffs, you can't have a performance like that. It's unacceptable. A performance like that had people calling for Ryan Day's job, questioning the legitimacy of Ohio State as a football program. You can't perform like that. It can't happen. But this was another moment where Will had to decide whether that loss would make or break him as a human. And I can tell you with confidence, he took that loss and learned from it. He bounced back big time, going on an elite college football postseason run, racking up 1,150 yards, 8 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. And that playoff run even included a win against Oregon, which was extremely meaningful to him, demonstrating his growth throughout the season. Now, that playoff run was special because while Will didn't have the strongest performance on film during the regular season, this run was special because Will was able to accomplish the 2 goals he had when he joined Ohio State. Number 1, to raise his draft stock, and to win a national championship. He accomplished both of those after throwing 2 touchdowns and beating Notre Dame 34-23, capping off the playoff run that I believe is the reason he got drafted. If there's one thing to take away from Will Howard's college career, it's that no matter the obstacles that were in front of him, he put his head down and got better and better and better year after year after year.
With the 185th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Will Howard, quarterback, Ohio State.
Will Howard was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 6th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. And observing him so far, observing how he interacts with teammates, he has been an absolute joy to have in the building in the city of Pittsburgh. He knows his place. He knows he's not the most physically gifted guy, and he knows that he has room to grow. But he's been working hard, and he's been an absolute sponge, soaking in any information and knowledge and wisdom that he can around Aaron Rodgers. Now, let's be very clear. Will Howard still has a lot to overcome to even see the field on Sundays. Forget the fact he's not the most physically gifted thrower. Forget the fact he's not the most physically gifted runner. The obstacle Will has to overcome now is that he's slated to back up Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers in his rookie year. And the road isn't going to get any easier for him in year 2, with Pittsburgh loading up their draft capital to draft a quarterback in the 1st round of the 2026 NFL Draft. That is their plan. That is what they've said is their plan. So it's very obvious to me, to you, and to Will. The cards are stacked against him. But when has that ever stopped Will Howard? He's not just fighting for a spot. He's chasing a dream that few believe he can reach. If Will Howard makes it in the NFL, it's not going to be because of luck. It'll be the result of relentless belief and hard work. And I hope to God he earns the prestigious title of being the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The book of Will Howard is just beginning, and his ending is still his to write. My name is Devin Engel. That was the story of Will Howard. I'm excited for him. I love the kid. I would love to shake his hand someday. If you believe this video is worth 99 cents of your time, feel free to head over to patreon.com or hit the join button under this YouTube video below. That would be appreciated. You do not have to. These videos will always be free. I love making these videos. I love putting them out, sharing these amazing stories with people. If you believe that was worth $1 of your time, Feel free to join the channel. I'm excited to bring you in, talk to you. We'll eventually do member live streams, member exclusive live streams. I'm excited. I plan to put out more of these videos. I have a Ben Roethlisberger story in the works. Joey Porter is in the works. Cam Hayward is in the works. Look out for those. If you enjoyed this video, tell me what you think about Will Howard. I'm probably going to be responding to as many comments as I can. I look forward to interacting with you. Follow me on Instagram, Devin Jacob Engel. Follow me on, gosh, what else is there? Here We Go Show on Instagram. I look forward to interacting with you. I loved making this video. I love you guys. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Here we go.